The marketplace on Orbital Station Harmony 7 buzzed with activity like it did every morning. Hundreds of beings from dozens of different worlds moved between the stalls and shops. The air smelled like strange spices and metal. Bright lights flickered from the vendors, selling everything from food to weapons to rare minerals from distant planets. Deho walked through the crowd with his daughter Nari skipping beside him. He kept one eye on her and one eye on the merchandise. They had been living on the station for 3 months now, while he worked as a merchant. It was peaceful work compared to his old life as a soldier. He liked it that way. Nari laughed as she chased a small, hovering toy through the air. The little drone buzzed and beeped as it flew just out of her reach. She was 8 years old and full of energy. Her father had bought the toy for her yesterday, and she had not stopped playing with it since. "Stay close, little star," Deho called out to her. "I will, Papa," she shouted back without slowing down. The toy zipped between 2 tall aliens and Nari followed. She was watching the drone so carefully that she did not see the Vrin officer standing in her path. She bumped right into his leg. Commander Velthar looked down at the small human child who had touched him. His face twisted with disgust. The Vrin were tall creatures with gray skin and sharp features. They wore dark armor that made them look even more imposing. Velthar wore the uniform of an imperial officer with medals across his chest. "How dare you?" he hissed in the common tongue. Nari looked up at him with wide eyes. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to." The back of his armored hand struck her across the face before she could finish. The sound echoed through the marketplace like a gunshot. Nari's small body flew backward and hit the metal floor. She did not move. The marketplace went silent. Every being within 50 meters stopped what they were doing. They all stared at the Vrin officer, standing over the motionless child. Deho heard the sound before he saw what happened. His blood turned to ice. He pushed through the crowd and saw his daughter lying on the ground. Blood pooled beneath her head. Her eyes were closed. Something broke inside him. The peaceful merchant vanished. The soldier returned. He lunged at Velthar with a roar that made several nearby aliens jump back in fear. His hands reached for the officer's throat. He got within 2 meters before station security tackled him to the ground. It took 4 security officers to hold him down. He fought like a wild animal. "Let me go," Deho screamed. "He hurt my daughter. He hurt my child." Velthar looked down at the struggling human with amusement. "Control your pet, security. It seems upset." One of the security officers, a tall insectoid creature, clicked its mandibles nervously. "You have struck a minor. This is a serious incident. You must come with us for questioning." The Vrin officer laughed. It was a cold sound without any warmth. "I am an imperial officer of the Vrin Empire. I have diplomatic immunity. That creature touched me without permission. I was within my rights to discipline it." "That's a child," someone in the crowd shouted. "That's a human child," another voice added. More security arrived. Medical personnel rushed to Nari's side. A human doctor named Sun-hee knelt beside the girl and scanned her with a medical device. Her face went pale. "Fractured skull," she said quietly. "Internal bleeding." They loaded Nari onto a floating stretcher. Deho stopped fighting. All the strength left his body as he watched them carry his little girl away. She looked so small on that stretcher. So fragile. "I need to go with her," he said. The security officers let him up. One of them, a human named Hyun-woo, put a hand on his shoulder. "Go. I'll handle this." Deho ran after the medical team. He did not look back at Velthar. If he had looked back, he might have tried to kill the officer. And that would not help Nari now. In the medical bay, doctors and machines worked on his daughter. Deho watched through a window, his hands pressed against the glass. He felt helpless. He had fought in 3 wars. He had survived attacks that killed entire squads. But he could not protect his own child in a marketplace. Hyun-woo found him an hour later. The two men had served together in the Earth Defense Force. They had been through hell together. Hyunwoo had never seen his friend look so broken. "She's going to live," Hyunwoo said softly. "What else?" Daeho asked. He knew there was more. Fractured skull. Traumatic brain injury. She might lose hearing in one ear. Months of recovery. Hyunwoo paused. The Vrin officer left the security station after 20 minutes. They let him go. Diplomatic immunity. Daeho's jaw clenched. Where is he now? Back on his ship. It's still docked at Base 7. He's not leaving for another 2 days. Some kind of trade negotiation. And the station authorities? They want to sweep this under the carpet. They're afraid of an incident with the Vrin Empire. Ambassador Jinha is trying to negotiate something. But the Vrin are refusing to even acknowledge wrongdoing. Daeho stared at his daughter through the glass. She looked so peaceful now, with all the machines helping her breathe and monitoring her vital signs. But he knew she was in pain. Even unconscious, her body was fighting to heal. He pulled out his personal communicator. It was a small device that looked ordinary, but had military-grade encryption. He typed a message using old military codes. The message was simple. Code Scarlet. They hurt one of our children. Location. Harmony 7. Requesting immediate response. He sent it to a secure channel that reached Earth Central Command. Hyunwoo saw what he was doing. You know what that means, right? Code Scarlet. That's not just a request for help. That's a call for war. I know exactly what it means, Daeho said. His voice was calm now. Too calm. He hit my daughter. He nearly killed her. And he laughed about it. If the station won't give us justice, then Earth will. They might not come. It's one child. One incident. We're in neutral space. Daeho looked at his old friend. You don't believe that. You know how humans are. You know what we do when someone hurts our children. They'll come. All of them will come. Far away, across vast distances of space, the message arrived at Earth. It bounced through military channels and reached Central Command within minutes. Alarms began to sound. Officers read the message and felt their blood boil. Within an hour, 6 warships changed their courses and turned toward Harmony 7. The Vrin Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had hurt a human child and thought there would be no consequences. They were about to learn what the word Deathworlder really meant. They were about to discover that humans did not make empty threats. They made promises, and every promise would be kept. The footage spread through human networks like wildfire. Someone in the marketplace had recorded everything. The video showed Nari chasing her toy. It showed her bumping into the Vrin officer. It showed him striking her without hesitation. It showed her small body hitting the floor. Within 6 hours, every human in the galaxy had seen it. Within 12 hours, protests erupted on Earth, and every human colony. People gathered in the streets, holding pictures of Nari. They chanted the same words over and over. Justice for our children. No mercy for those who harm them. The Earth Central Command building looked calm from the outside. Inside, it was chaos. Military officers, politicians, and colony representatives gathered in the emergency session chamber. The room was massive, with curved walls covered in screens. Each screen showed a different human world or station or ship. Fleet Admiral Jiwon stood at the center podium. She was 60 years old with gray hair and hard eyes. She had fought in the First Contact War and the expansion conflicts. She had seen terrible things. But the video of Nari being struck made her hands shake with rage. We all know why we're here, she said. Her voice carried through the chamber and to every connected screen. A Vrin officer struck a human child, nearly killed her, and claimed diplomatic immunity. The question before us is simple. What do we do? We demand justice through proper channels, said a politician from Mars colony. We cannot risk war over one incident. One incident? A colony representative from Europa stood up. That was a child. My colony has voted unanimously. If we do nothing, we are telling the galaxy that human children can be harmed without consequences. I will not accept that. None of us should. The debate lasted 3 hours. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. Not because everyone agreed on the method, but because everyone agreed on one thing. This could not stand. The orders went out immediately. 6 warships broke formation from their assigned positions. They did not ask permission. They simply went. Their destination was Harmony 7. The lead ship was the Times Indomitable Asterisk. It was a special operations carrier designed for rapid deployment. Captain Minseo commanded the vessel. She was 42 years old, with sharp features and a reputation for getting missions done no matter what. How long until we reach Harmony 7? She asked her navigation officer. 18 hours at maximum burn, Captain. Make it 16. I don't care if we burn out the engines. Go. The Times. Indomitable Times accelerated beyond its recommended speed limits. Behind it, 5 more ships did the same. The message was clear. Humans were coming, and they were coming fast. On Harmony 7, Deho had not left the medical bay. He sat beside Nari's bed holding her small hand. She had not woken up yet. The doctors said she was stable, but the damage was severe. Her brain was swelling. They had put her in an induced coma to help her heal. Hyunwoo entered the room quietly. They're coming. 6 ships so far. More might be on the way. Good, Deho said without looking away from his daughter. The station authorities are panicking. They've never seen a human military response like this. They're asking Ambassador Jinha to call off the ships. She won't. She can't. This is bigger than her now. Ambassador Jinha was indeed facing pressure. She stood in the station commander's office with 3 station officials yelling at her. The station commander was a 4-armed creature named Plex, who looked terrified. You must stop this, Plex said. If human warships arrive in force, the Vrin Empire will consider it an act of aggression. We could have a war starting at our station. Then the Vrin officer should face justice, Jinha said calmly. Give him to us for trial. That's all we want. He has diplomatic immunity. We cannot touch him. Then we will. That is illegal under galactic law. Jinha smiled, but there was no warmth in it. So is striking a child. But that didn't stop Commander Velthar, did it? The Times, Indomitable Times, arrived at Harmony 7 exactly 16 hours after receiving the Code Scarlet message. The ship was huge and covered in weapons. It did not sneak in quietly. It came in with all sensors active and weapons armed. It was a statement. Captain Minseo opened a communication channel to the station. This is Captain Minseo of the Earth Vessel Times, Indomitable Asterisk. We are here on a humanitarian mission to provide support to an injured human child. We request permission to dock. Station Commander Plex looked at the massive warship on his screens. What could he say? If he refused, they might dock anyway. And he did not want to test human determination right now. Permission granted, he said weakly. Bay 12. The Times, Indomitable Times, docked. Its airlock opened and Marines poured out. They wore combat gear, but no helmets. They wanted everyone to see their faces, to see that they were not machines or monsters. They were people. Angry people. Lieutenant Borum led the first squad. She was 30 years old, with scars on her face from previous battles. Her squad called her the Reaper, because she always completed her missions. She walked through the station corridors with purpose. Other beings moved out of her way quickly. Behind the Marines came Dr. Sunhee. She went straight to the medical bay to check on Nari. Deho stood when she entered. I'm Dr. Sunhee from the Times Indomitable Asterisk, she said. I specialize in trauma cases. May I examine your daughter? Deho nodded. He watched as the doctor scanned Nari with advanced equipment. Her expression grew darker as she reviewed the results. The fracture is worse than the station doctors thought, she said. There's damage to the inner ear. She will lose hearing on her left side. Permanently. The brain swelling is under control, but she'll need months of rehabilitation. She might have memory problems or difficulty with balance. But she'll live? Yes, she'll live. But she'll carry these injuries for the rest of her life. Daeho closed his eyes. His little girl who loved to dance and spin and chase her toys. She would never be the same. More human ships arrived throughout the day. Each one took a position around the station. By nightfall, 6 warships surrounded Harmony. 7 inches, a perfect formation. Their weapons were not aimed at the station. They were aimed at the Vryn ship docked at Bay 7. Inside that ship, Commander Velthar was beginning to feel nervous. He had sent messages to the Vryn Empire, explaining the situation. The response had been clear. Maintain diplomatic immunity. Do not back down. The Empire would support him, but the Empire was far away. The human warships were right here. Other alien species on the station began quietly evacuating. They booked passage on any ship, leaving Harmony 7. They had heard stories about human Deathworlders. They had heard what humans did when provoked. They did not want to be present for what was coming. Yuna arrived on the 3rd ship. She was an intelligence officer with skills in hacking and electronic warfare. She immediately began infiltrating the station's computer systems. Within 2 hours, she had access to every sensor and camera on Harmony 7. She knew where every Vryn was located. She knew their weapons and their defenses. Lieutenant Borum's Marines spread throughout the station. They did not cause trouble. They simply positioned themselves at key locations. Near airlocks. Near power junctions. Near the docking bays. They waited. Captain Minseo sent one final message on all frequencies. It was broadcast to every ship in the system, to the station, to the Vryn vessel, to everyone. To Commander Velthar of the Vryn Empire. You struck a human child. You nearly killed her. Under Interspecies Conduct Protocol 7, you are required to face trial for assault on a minor of a sentient species. You have 24 hours to present yourself for trial. If you do not comply, we will come for you. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The message repeated on a loop. In the medical bay, Daeho heard the announcement. He squeezed Nari's hand gently. They came for you, little star, he whispered. Just like I knew they would. Across the galaxy, more human ships were changing course and heading to Harmony 7. The word had spread. Humans were gathering. And they were angry. The 24 hours passed slowly. Every being on Harmony 7 felt the tension building. It was like waiting for a storm that everyone knew was coming. The human ships maintained their positions around the station. Silent. Waiting. Commander Velthar spent those hours in his quarters aboard the Vryn ship. He sent multiple messages to the Empire requesting instructions. The responses were always the same. Do not submit to human demands. Maintain diplomatic immunity. The Empire stands behind you. But as the deadline approached, Velthar felt something he had not felt in years. Fear. He watched the human warships through his viewport. They were smaller than Vryn vessels, but there was something threatening about them. They looked like predators waiting to strike. Councillor Rethmon, a Vryn politician who had been aboard for the trade negotiations, came to see him. Rethmon was older and more experienced in galactic politics. You should consider surrendering, Rethmon said quietly. This situation is escalating beyond control. I will not bow to these primitives, Velthar said. I did nothing wrong. The creature touched me. I responded appropriately. You struck a child. Most species in the galaxy protect their young above all else. The humans most of all. They are Deathworlders, Commander. Do you know what that means? It means they come from a harsh planet. So what? We have superior technology and numbers, Rethmon sighed. You really don't understand, but you will. The deadline expired at exactly 0800 station time. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. The human ships remained in position. The station held its breath. Then Commander Velthar made his fatal mistake. He opened a communication channel and broadcast a message on all frequencies. I am Commander Velthar of the Vryn Imperial Navy. I do not answer to animals. Your child was disciplined for inappropriate behavior. Return to your dirt world and accept your place in the Galactic Order. This matter is closed. On the Times Indomitable Asterisk, Captain Mincio listened to the message. Her face remained calm, but her eyes went cold. She pressed a button on her command console. All units, she said quietly. Everything happened at once. Yuna activated the programs she had planted in the Vryn ship's systems. The navigation computer shut down. The weapons systems locked up. The communications array went dark. The Vryn ship was suddenly blind and helpless. Lieutenant Borum and her Marines moved instantly. They had been positioned near Bay 7 for hours. Now they ran toward the docking bay, where the Vryn ship was moored. They moved fast, and with absolute precision. The Vryn ship's crew realized what was happening. They tried to undock and flee, but their systems would not respond. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. Security forces armed themselves and prepared to repel boarders. Taejin led the assault team. He wore a combat exosuit that made him faster and stronger. His team carried cutting charges designed to breach ship hulls. They reached the Vryn ship's outer airlock and placed the charges, breaching in 3, 2, 1. The explosion was controlled but powerful. Vryn security forces were waiting. They opened fire immediately. Blue energy bolts filled the corridor. But the humans had planned for this. They carried heavy shields and advanced armor. The energy bolts deflected or were absorbed. Non-lethal, Borum shouted. We want them alive to witness. The Marines switched to shock weapons. The close quarters battle was brief and brutal. The Vryn were well-trained soldiers, but the humans fought with terrifying intensity. Every movement was efficient. Every strike was calculated. They had practiced urban warfare on a planet where predators hunted them. This was just another hunt. A Vryn soldier tried to block the corridor with his body. Taejin's exosuit enhanced strength let him simply pick the soldier up and move him aside like a piece of furniture. Another Vryn attempted to trigger a security lockdown. A Marine tackled him before he could reach the panel. Within 10 minutes, the assault team had secured the lower decks of the Vryn ship. Within 20 minutes, they controlled engineering and life support. Within 30 minutes, they were outside the command deck where Velthar had barricaded himself with his personal guards. The entire galaxy watched. Station sensors captured everything. News networks from hundreds of worlds broadcast the footage live. They saw humans storming through a Vryn military vessel like it was nothing. They saw why Earth was classified as Deathworld Alpha. Borum stood outside the command deck door. She knew Velthar was listening. Commander Velthar, she said calmly. You have two choices. You can come out peacefully and face trial, or we can cut through this door and drag you out. Your choice. You have 60 seconds to decide. Inside the command deck, Velthar was surrounded by 8 of his best guards. They all had weapons trained on the door. But they had seen what happened to their fellow soldiers. They had seen how fast the humans moved, and how hard they fought. We should kill the child, one guard suggested. Send a message that we will not be intimidated. Velthar considered it for a moment. Then he remembered something Rethman had said. Humans protect their young above all else. If he threatened the child now, the humans would not stop with arrest. They would kill everyone on this ship. No, Velthar said. We hold position. They are bluffing. They would not dare breach a command deck with this many witnesses watching. Borum's 60 seconds expired. She looked at Taejin and nodded. The assault specialist placed shaped charges on the door hinges. The explosion was precise. The heavy door fell inward with a crash. Smoke grenades flew through the opening. The command deck filled with thick gray smoke. The Vryn guards fired blindly into the smoke. Energy bolts flashed but hit nothing. The humans had already moved. They came from 3 different angles wearing thermal vision gear. The guards could not see. The humans could. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds. The guards were disarmed and restrained. Velthar found himself on the floor with a human knee on his back and restraints being locked around his wrists. "Commander Velthar," Borum said, "you are under arrest for assault on a minor. You will be tried under galactic law." "This is an act of war," Velthar shouted. "The Vryn Empire will destroy you for this." "Maybe," Borum said, "but you'll still face trial." They marched him out of his ship in restraints. The entire route was broadcast on every news network. Velthar, an Imperial commander, being led through the station by human marines. Other aliens watched from doorways and windows. Some looked satisfied, others looked frightened. All of them were impressed. They took him to a secure holding area that the humans had prepared. It was a small room with force fields and guards. Velthar was locked inside. Ambassador Jinha came to see him an hour later. She looked at him through the force field. "You could have apologized," she said. "You could have shown remorse. We might have accepted a fine and some cultural exchange programs. But you chose arrogance. Now you will face the full consequences." The Vryn Empire will not accept this," Velthar said. "We have 40 warships in the nearest battle group. They are already being mobilized." "I know," Jinha said. "We detected the fleet movement 3 hours ago. They will arrive in approximately 72 hours. Then you should release me now and flee. You cannot fight an entire Vryn armada." Jinha smiled. "You still don't understand. We're not fleeing. We're waiting." She left him in the cell to think about that. News of the Vryn fleet reached Earth within the hour. The response was immediate. Admiral Jiwan mobilized the 3rd Battle Group. 15 dreadnoughts began their journey to Harmony 7. They would arrive before the Vryn. In the medical bay, Nari's eyes opened for the first time in 3 days. Her vision was blurry, and her head hurt. She saw her father's face above her. "Papa?" Her voice was weak. Deho felt tears run down his face. "I'm here, little star. I'm here. Where am I? You're safe. You were hurt, but you're going to be okay. End it. End it." She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her head. She lay back down. "What happened? You had an accident. But don't worry. Everything is being handled." Nari looked confused, but she was too tired to ask more questions. She closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep. Her father held her hand and made a silent promise. The person who hurt her would pay. Everyone who tried to protect him would learn what happens when you harm a human child. In space, fleets were moving. The Vryn armada approached from one direction. The human battle group approached from another. Harmony 7 sat in the middle. A small station about to become the center of a potential war. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen when Deathworlders demanded justice. The Vryn armada arrived first. 40 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They were massive vessels, painted in the dark gray colors of the Vryn Empire. Each ship bristled with weapons. Together, they represented enough firepower to destroy a small planet. War Admiral Tethkor commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Times Imperial Vengeance *. He was Velthar's uncle and a veteran of many battles. He had led Vryn forces to victory against 3 different species. He did not expect humans to be any different. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Locate all human vessels." His sensor officer worked quickly. "Sir, we detect 6 human ships around Harmony 7. They appear to be older destroyer-class vessels. No match for our fleet." "6 ships?" Tethkor laughed. "They mobilize 6 ships to threaten the Vryn Empire? Contact their commander. Also 1. I want to speak with whoever is foolish enough to think they can dictate terms to us." The communication channel opened. Captain Minseo appeared on the screen. She looked calm, despite facing 40 enemy warships. I am War Admiral Tethkor of the Vrin Imperial Navy. You are holding an Imperial officer prisoner. Release him immediately or face destruction. I am Captain Minseo. Commander Velthar is being held for trial under Interspecies Conduct Protocol 7. He struck a child and nearly killed her. He will face justice. He has diplomatic immunity. This is an internal empire matter. Your interference is an act of war. Striking a child is a universal crime, Minseo replied. We will not back down. Tethkor's face twisted with anger. You have 1 hour to release my nephew and withdraw your ships. After that, we will take him by force and destroy every human vessel in this system. The channel closed. On Harmony 7, Ambassador Jinha watched the exchange with worry. She contacted Earth Central Command. We need reinforcements, she said. The Vrin have 40 ships. We have 6. This is going to be a massacre. Reinforcements are already on the way, came the response. ETA. 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, space rippled as ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. But it was not just a few reinforcements. It was Admiral Jiwan's entire 3rd battle group. 15 human dreadnoughts appeared in perfect formation. Each ship was half the size of a Vrin warship, but carried twice as many weapons. The arrival of the human fleet changed everything. Now, it was 40 Vrin ships versus 21 human ships. Still not equal numbers, but close enough to make the Vrin admiral hesitate. Admiral Jiwan opened a channel to Tethkor. I am Fleet Admiral Jiwan of Earth. I understand you want your officer back. I understand you think we have no right to hold him. But here is what you need to understand. That officer struck an 8-year-old child. He fractured her skull. He damaged her brain. She will carry these injuries for life. And he showed no remorse. No apology. No acknowledgement of wrongdoing. She is just one child, Tethkor said dismissively. She is our child. And we do not negotiate when it comes to our children. A new voice joined the conversation. Elder Quilm of the Galactic Assembly appeared on screen. The Assembly was the closest thing the galaxy had to a neutral government. Quilm was a being that looked like a floating collection of lights. This situation must be resolved peacefully, Quilm said. War benefits no one. I propose a compromise. Commander Velthar pays a substantial fine to the child's family and issues a formal apology. Then, both fleets withdraw. Unacceptable, Jiwan said immediately. Be reasonable, Quilm urged. You cannot expect a full trial over one incident. Why not? Because he's an officer? Because he has connections? If this was a human who struck a Vrin child, you would demand a full trial. We want the same thing. Equal justice under galactic law. Tethkor made a noise of disgust. We do not equate our people with lesser species. Vrin are superior beings. This is a fundamental truth. Superior? Jiwan's voice turned cold. Let me show you something. On every screen throughout the system, video began playing. It showed Earth. Children from every human culture, playing, laughing, learning. The videos showed parents holding babies, families eating together, teachers helping students. The message was clear. These are our children. This is what we protect. Then the videos changed. Combat footage from Earth's history. Soldiers fighting with desperate intensity. Cities burning. Wars being fought over children who had been harmed. The footage showed humans at their most dangerous. When something threatened their young, humans became unstoppable. This is what you don't understand, Jiwan said. We are not like you. We don't measure worth by strength or technology or age of civilization. We measure it by potential, by innocence, by the future that children represent. And when someone harms our children, we do not compromise. We do not negotiate. We do not forgive. More videos played. Other species from across the galaxy sent messages. A reptilian species showed their own young. An aquatic race displayed their offspring. A crystalline species demonstrated how they protected their children. Species after species sent the same message. We understand. We would do the same. The Vreen began to realize they were isolated. Most of the galaxy agreed that harming children was unacceptable. The Vreen's claim of superiority suddenly looked like cruelty instead of strength. Quan, a human diplomatic negotiator, opened a private channel to Counselor Rethmon aboard the Vryn flagship. You're going to lose, Quan said simply. Not the military battle. Maybe you could win that, but you'll lose everything else. Every species will remember that the Vryn hurt a child and refused to face justice. Trade will dry up. Alliances will crumble. Your empire will be isolated. You cannot isolate us, Rethmon said, but he sounded uncertain. Watch us. Humans are good at holding grudges, and we have very long memories. The standoff continued for 12 more hours. Both fleets remained at combat readiness. Weapons were armed, and targeting systems locked on. One wrong move, and hundreds of thousands would die. Dr. Sunhee released a detailed medical report during this time. She showed exactly what Velthar's strike had done to Nari. The fractured skull, the brain damage, the permanent hearing loss. The report was clinical and precise. It was also devastating. This was not a minor injury, Sunhee explained in a broadcast. This was nearly fatal. If Nari had not received immediate medical care, she would have died. Even with the best treatment, she will never fully recover. She is 8 years old. She should be playing and learning and dreaming about her future. Instead, she is learning to walk again because her balance is damaged. She is learning to hear with only one ear. She is learning to live with pain that might never completely go away. The broadcast affected many beings across the galaxy. Even some Vryn officers watched it and felt uncomfortable. They had children too. They understood protection of the young, even if their culture was different. Tethkor remained stubborn. My nephew did nothing wrong by our laws. I will not allow him to be tried by inferior species. Then we are at an impasse, G1 said. Both sides prepared for battle. Crews went to combat stations. Shield generators powered up. Weapons charged. The next few minutes would determine if this became a war or if cooler heads prevailed. Then something unexpected happened. A small shuttle launched from Harmony 7. It had no weapons and no shields. It simply flew slowly toward the space between the two fleets. Every sensor in both armadas locked onto it immediately. Inside the shuttle was Deho. He held Nari in his arms. She was awake, but weak. Medical equipment surrounded her, keeping her stable. Deho had checked her out of the medical bay against the doctor's advice. He opened a communication channel that reached every ship in the system. My name is Deho. This is my daughter Nari. We are flying between your fleets right now. If you want a war, you will have to go through us first. A father and his child. Make your choice. The galaxy watched. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds saw the small shuttle drifting between two massive fleets. They saw a human father holding his injured daughter. They saw the bravery or perhaps the madness of Deathworlders. Admiral G1 made a decision that shocked everyone. All human ships, power down weapons. Stand down from combat status. Her officers looked at her like she was crazy. But they obeyed. One by one, the human ships lowered their shields and deactivated their weapons. It was an impossible gesture of trust. They were vulnerable now. The Vryn could destroy them easily. On the Vryn flagship, Tethkor stared at his screens in confusion. What are they doing? This makes no sense. They are showing you what they're fighting for, Rethmon said quietly. Not territory. Not resources. Not pride. They are fighting for that child in the shuttle. And they trust that you will not fire on a father holding his daughter. Tethkor's hand hovered over the weapons controls. One order, and this would be over. But he could not give that order. Not with billions watching. Not with a child floating in space between the fleets. To fire now would prove everything the humans had said about the Vryn being cruel. Elder Quilm seized the moment. This is a sign. A gesture. Let us take this opportunity to resolve this peacefully. I call for an emergency tribunal. All species are invited to witness. Commander Velthar will face trial. The evidence will be presented, and justice will be determined fairly. Tethkor wanted to refuse, but he was trapped. The entire galaxy was watching. If he rejected a fair trial now, the Vryn Empire would become pariahs. I accept the tribunal, he said through clenched teeth. But if the verdict is unjust, there will be consequences. The verdict will be based on evidence and galactic law, Quilm said. Nothing more, nothing less. Deho guided his shuttle back to the station. Nari looked up at him with confused eyes. Papa, why did we go out there? To remind them what this is really about, Deho said. To show them that you are not just a statistic or a political issue. You are a child. And children matter more than anything else. The trial would begin tomorrow. The galaxy waited to see if justice would be served. The tribunal chamber was set up in Harmony 7's largest conference hall. Representatives from 43 different species attended. Some came in person. Others appeared via hologram from their home worlds. The chamber had seats arranged in a circle around a central platform. Elder Quilm floated above the platform, presiding over the proceedings. Security was intense. Human Marines and Vryn soldiers both stood guard, watching each other carefully. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. One wrong word could restart the conflict. Commander Velthar was brought into the chamber in restraints. He walked with his head high, showing no fear or shame. He looked at the assembled beings with contempt. In his mind, he was the victim here. These lesser species were persecuting him for maintaining proper order. Elder Quilm spoke first. We are here to determine if Commander Velthar violated interspecies conduct protocol 7 by assaulting a minor of a sentient species. The penalty for such a crime is severe, but we must ensure justice is fair and based on evidence, not emotion. The prosecution was led by Ambassador Jinha. She stood and activated a holographic display. The marketplace footage played for everyone to see. Nari chasing her toy, bumping into Velthar, the strike, the child falling. The blood on the floor. The chamber was silent as the video played. Some beings looked away. Others watched with growing anger. Even Velthar's own delegation seemed uncomfortable. This is the incident in question, Jinha said. A child, 8 years old, accidentally made physical contact while playing. The response was immediate violence. Note that the child posed no threat. She was unarmed. She was not aggressive. She was simply being a child. She touched me without permission. Velthar interrupted. In Vryn culture, such contact from a lesser being is an insult that demands correction. She is a child, Jinha said quietly. Children do not understand all cultural protocols. They are learning. They are innocent. Every civilized species understands this. Elder Quilm called for testimony from witnesses. Multiple beings who had been in the marketplace came forward. All told the same story. The child had been playing. The contact was accidental. The violence was unprovoked and excessive. Then came the medical evidence. Dr. Sunhee presented her findings in detail. The strike caused a fracture to the skull measuring 4 centimeters. The impact created subdural bleeding that threatened her life. The force also damaged the inner ear structures, resulting in permanent hearing loss. The brain swelling was severe enough that we had to induce a coma to prevent death. She displayed medical scans showing the damage. The images were disturbing. Nari's small skull with the visible fracture, the swelling in her brain, the destroyed tissues in her ear. This child will carry these injuries for life, Sunhee continued. She will need hearing aids. She will have balance problems. She may have cognitive difficulties as she grows. All of this from one blow, delivered by an adult male in armor against an unarmed child. Counselor Rethmon stood to speak for the Vryn side. He was clearly uncomfortable with his position. What Commander Velthar did was wrong, he said, surprising many in the room. I do not defend his actions, but I ask for understanding of cultural context. The Vryn are raised to maintain strict hierarchies. Contact from those considered inferior is genuinely offensive to us. Then your culture needs to change, said a representative from the Quillari, a species known for their protection of young. If your cultural response to a child's accident is violence, your culture is broken. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. The Vryn delegation looked shocked that other species would speak so bluntly. Elder Quilm called for order. We are here to determine guilt under galactic law, not to judge entire cultures. However, cultural differences do not excuse harm to children. This is a nearly universal principle. Then let me clarify our position, Tethkor said, standing. If you find my nephew guilty, the Vryn Empire will consider it an attack on our sovereignty. We will respond accordingly. Is that a threat? Admiral Jiwan asked coldly. It is a promise. The tension spiked. Hands moved toward weapons. The tribunal seemed ready to collapse into violence. Then a small voice broke through the standoff. Why did you hit me? Everyone turned. Nari stood at the entrance to the chamber. She was supported by 2 medical attendants, but she had insisted on coming. Deho walked beside her, his face showing both pride and concern. Elder Quilm should have stopped this. Children were not supposed to testify. But he saw the look in the girl's eyes and made an exception. Come forward, child, he said gently. Nari walked slowly to the central platform. Each step looked painful. She stood in front of Velthar and looked up at him. She was so small, compared to the tall Vryn officer. I asked you a question, she said. Her voice was quiet, but clear. Why did you hit me? Velthar looked down at her. For the first time, he seemed unsure. You touched me. It was inappropriate. I'm sorry I bumped into you. I was playing. I didn't mean to be inappropriate. She paused. Did you mean to hurt me? No. No into the prime. I meant to correct your behavior. By breaking my head? The simple question hit harder than any legal argument could. This was not a complex legal debate anymore. It was a child, asking her attacker why he had hurt her. I did not intend to cause such severe injury, Velthar said. Your species is fragile. So you knew I could get hurt, but you hit me anyway? Velthar had no answer to that. Nari turned to face the assembled beings. I don't understand all the big words and laws, but I know what happened. I was playing. I made a mistake, and he hurt me really bad. I was scared. I thought I was going to die. And nobody should hit kids. That's wrong. Everyone knows that. She started crying. Not loud sobs, but quiet tears. Deho moved to hold her, but she shook her head. She wanted to finish. My papa says you're all deciding if what happened to me was okay or not. I don't think it was okay. I think it was really, really wrong. And I think everyone who hurts kids should have to say sorry and promise never to do it again. She walked back to her father. The chamber was absolutely silent. Representatives from dozens of species looked at this small, injured child and felt something shift inside them. This was not about politics or territory or pride. This was about right and wrong at the most fundamental level. Elder Quilm called for the vote. All representatives will vote on whether Commander Velthar is guilty of assault on a minor under Interspecies Conduct Protocol 7. The vote was unanimous. 43 species voted guilty. Even the Vryn delegation abstained, rather than vote innocent. Counselor Rethmon later explained that he could not, in good conscience, defend what had happened. Commander Velthar, Elder Quilm announced. You are found guilty. The sentence is as follows. 20 years imprisonment in a neutral facility. You will lose all rank and titles. You will pay full medical costs and reparations to the victim, and you will issue a public apology to Nari and the human species. Velthar's face went pale. I will not apologize to animals. Then you can rot in prison, Admiral Jiwan said. War Admiral Tethkor stood abruptly. This is unacceptable. Release my nephew, or face the Vreen Armada. Deho, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. You want to fight? Then fight me. Personal combat. Your Vryn traditions allow trial by combat. Don't they? You would challenge me? Tethkor laughed. I have trained for 60 years in Vryn combat arts. You are just a merchant. I'm a father, Deho said. And I'm a human. That's all I need to be. Elder Quilm tried to stop this, but the Vryn tradition was clear. If challenged, Tethkor had to accept or lose face. The combat took place in an arena hastily prepared on the station. Both fleets watched. Billions across the galaxy watched. Tethkor wore light armor and carried a ceremonial blade. Deho wore simple clothes and carried nothing. The fight began. Tethkor moved with practiced precision. His strikes were fast and controlled. But Deho moved with something else. Desperate fury. Protective instinct. The fighting style of a species that had survived a planet trying to kill them every day. Deho took hits. Tethkor's blade cut his arm. A strike broke 2 of his ribs. But Deho kept coming. He absorbed the punishment and struck back harder. He fought like his daughter's life depended on it. The turning point came when Deho got inside Tethkor's guard. He grabbed the Vryn Admiral and used a throw technique that sent Tethkor crashing to the ground. Before the Admiral could rise, Deho was on top of him with a knee on his throat. Do you yield? Deho asked through bloody teeth. Tethkor struggled but could not break free. Humans might be smaller than Vryn, but they were surprisingly strong. Deathworld muscles developed under higher gravity. I yield, Tethkor gasped. Deho stood and helped the Admiral up. Your nephew stays in prison. The verdict stands. And if the Vryn Empire has a problem with that, they can come talk to me. Round. Tethkor looked at this human who had just defeated him. He saw the scars, the broken ribs that Deho was ignoring, the determination in his eyes. The verdict stands, Tethkor said quietly. The Vryn fleet will withdraw. Commander Velthar was taken away to serve his sentence. Before he left, he was brought before Nari one last time. I apologize for harming you, he said stiffly. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. It was wrong. Thank you, Nari said simply. I forgive you. But don't ever hurt kids again. The Vryn fleet departed. The human fleet remained for another week to ensure stability. During that time, Elder Quilm worked with multiple species to create a new law. They called it the Nari Protocol. The law was simple. Harming the young of any sentient species was now a universal crime. No cultural exceptions. No diplomatic immunity. Children were protected above all else. 47 species signed the protocol immediately. More signed in the following weeks. The Vryn Empire signed 3 months later, after significant internal debate and political pressure. 6 months after the incident, Nari played in the same marketplace where she had been hurt. Her hearing aid was barely visible. She still had balance problems, but she was learning to manage. Most importantly, she was happy. Other species' children played with her now. A small Quillari child held her hand. A young, crystalline being from the Thalon species shared a toy with her. Children of a dozen different species ran and laughed together. Adults watched and smiled. The marketplace that had been the site of violence was now a symbol of hope and unity. Deho watched from a nearby bench. Hyunwoo sat beside him. They're calling her a hero, Hyunwoo said. The child who changed the galaxy. She's just a kid who wanted to play. Deho replied. But I suppose that's the point. Kids should get to be kids. That's worth protecting. Do you think the Vryn learned their lesson? Deho smiled. They learned that humans don't make threats. We make promises. and we always keep our promises. Thanks for watching. With promises. Thanks for watching. Across the galaxy, in human homes and stations and colonies, parents held their children a little tighter that night. They told them the story of Nari, the story of the little girl who was hurt but survived, the story of how humans crossed the stars to protect one of their own, and they promised their children the same thing Deho had promised Nari. We will always come for you, no matter where you are, no matter who threatens you. We will always come. It was a promise that humans had always kept. And now the entire galaxy knew it. The Deathworlders of Earth did not just survive harsh conditions and dangerous predators. They survived because they protected each other fiercely and completely. That was what made them truly dangerous. Not their strength, or their weapons, or their technology. It was their absolute refusal to abandon their children. It was their willingness to fight impossible battles for the smallest and weakest among them. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never harm a human child, because humans will enforce the consequences personally, and they will not stop until justice is done.